Welcome to Overbox Guitar Tuition, and my classic album inspection today is an album that really needs no introduction. It's Van Halen's debut album. It was released this day, February the 10th, 1978. So it's 45 years old today. Probably the greatest debut album of all time. The only albums that come close, I think, are probably Hendrix' Value Experience, Boston's debut, maybe Led Zepp's debut. There's not many. There's big selling debut albums, but they're not as good as this. What's his kind of backstory? It was actually recorded August 30th to September 1977. So it was recorded over 3 weeks. I'm just looking over the computer. Basically, they'd done demos before that with Gene Simmons, but they weren't able to use their own equipment. Then they did some more Warner Brothers demos. I think Ted Templeman oversaw those. So by the time they went in the studio, probably pretty au fait with his working methods and getting a good sound. They went to Sunset Sound Recorders in Hollywood to do this. There's 11 tracks on this album, so usually for a Van Halen album, the only other album I can think of out of the first 6 that were 12 tracks is Diver Down, but those are very short. This has actually got 10 proper full-length tracks, and of course Eruption, the short instrumental 1 minute from 42 seconds. We'll come to that. Basically you could read a lot of stuff online about this. I recommend Van Halen Rising book. Noel Monk's book's really good as well, their manager. And there's a wealth of information out there about Eddie's equipment, stuff like that. That would do far more justice than I. This wasn't the first Van Halen album I bought. It was the second or third one, I think. I managed to get it for $4.99 in a record shop. There was a Wilkinson's in Lancaster near where I lived. Probably mentioned this on other videos I've done, and a record shop had floor space in that, I'm guessing. It was pretty random, but they had quite a good collection of rock albums. I got it for $4.99, mint copy on vinyl, took it home, and of course blew my mind. It's still one of my favourite albums, maybe my second favourite album of all time. Incidentally, today is the 45th anniversary of maybe my favourite album of all time, which is Stained Class by Judas Priest. But that kind of yings and yangs with Sound Wings of Destiny. How weird is that two amazing albums come out on the same day, the same year? But anyway, you can look at that video as well. Obviously, I'm wearing a Halen t-shirt today. Basically what did Templeman do? Really, what he did was trying to capture the live sound, the live energy of the band. They just played the songs they were playing, and rehearsed and played over a long period of time. And the production sort of reflects that. You've got guitar on the left side facing, and on the bass on the right side, unless my speakers are plugged in all the way around. So it's not double tracked. There's only 2 instances on the album that I could hear where you've got the rhythm guitar one side, and then Eddie overdubs a solo, and that's Running with the Devil, and Jamie's crying, he does some sort of lead over the top. But mostly the lead guitar's in the same pass as the rhythm, so whether he's played it all through in one pass, or he's maybe dropped in, gone back and dropped in, or but you can hear all his fills and everything in one pass, and then he's got a massive bass sound from Michael Anderson, which obviously you hear at the start, Running with the Devil. And you got Alex's drums, and then Dave Lee Roth's vocals. Ted Templeman was really careful to make sure he got a really good performance from Dave Lee Roth. Obviously, Dave Lee Roth's not the best singer, so he spent a long time getting everything right. And I think that shows on the opening track, Running with the Devil. I think Templeman realised that this was the opening track. This was going to be opener. And if you listen to that vocal performance of Dave Lee Roth, it's spot on. Whatever people feel about his singing, every note's right, every little yelp, every little inflection, they've created a perfect vocal for that song, and perfectly sung by Dave Lee Roth. If you actually listen to the start of that track, the car horn kind of pans across the top of the spectrum. But essentially the production's simple, it's straight ahead, it's just recorded incredibly well. And of course you've got this incredible guitar sound, which has been captured, for all eternity. The other aspect of it is, as well as the vocal harmonies are pitched really good. I'm imagining they've probably, done those separately, but maybe some of them have sung around the mic. If you listen to the end of Feel Your Love Tonight, you can hear how well pitched they are. There's nothing sour there. It's just beautiful Beach Boys harmonies, and you can hear Dave going in with a lower harmony, and it's spot on. And just all these little elements of Helen are just separated really well. There's very few overdubs on the album. It costs about $40,000 to produce, which 3 weeks, what's that, $2,000 a day. Yeah, that's about what studios cost. Some very expensive recording studios back in the 1970s, $5,000, $2,000 a day. And into the 80s as well, albums cost so much. So even though 3 weeks is a short amount of time, $40,000 in today's money, I would say would be well over $200,000. But obviously it took a bit of a while for the album to come out. When it did, people heard it, musicians heard it, and it just started. Loads of bands, loads of people changing their guitar playing, taking up guitar, and it went on Diamond States. It sold 10 million copies in the States. I think it's a more consistent album. You get RE Experience and Zepp's debut. This album's pretty much flawless. The weakest track on it is Little Dreamer. And when Little Dreamer's your weakest track, aren't a good thing. But obviously they toured with Black Sabbath. This is all kind of musical folklore. All the tracks are credited to the band. Basically, obviously Running with the Devil. I was talking to a mate a while back, and albums that start with a band's best song and their first song you ever hear by them might be their best song, and it's a good argument. Running with the Devil is, someone said to me, well, that's the best Van Halen song. I wouldn't necessarily argue. It's great. It's got fantastic bass. The drum group's great. As I mentioned, David Ross' vocals fantastic. Eddie's rhythm guitar sounds just epic with those inverted chords. Again, taking a different approach, not just doing straight power chords. In fact, he very rarely plays straight power chords. This isn't the first two chords in Running with the Devil. He's playing inverted upper triads on the D, G and B, and then on the verses he's playing thirds on the D and G string. So different approach to rhythm guitar. Solo's quite interesting in this because he's kind of quite straight ahead. It's a cool arpeggio thing, but he doesn't totally let rip. But I think that's one of the things with the solos on the album. Although it's kind of chock-a-block with guitar, he doesn't do really long solos. All the songs are really to the point and really well arranged. So there's 3:36. There you got Eruption. We could go on all day about this. It changed people's lives. It changed guitar. It changed guitar how it was played. When people saw the guitar was playing, it changed how guitars were made. It changed how amps were made. People were chasing the Brown sound, hot rolling Marshalls, and that gave rise to the boutique amp thing, It just changed shit all the way through the 80s and into the 90s. It was changing stuff. It's changing stuff now. Although I feel like young people maybe don't realise how, influential Van Halen was. Then you've got the cover of You Really Got Me. This will be a trademark of the band. They did cover bands, a great top 40 band before they got signed. It's where they became so tight, I think, with hours and hours of practice. It's a great version of it, 2:38. They put their own stamp on it. Fantastic guitar, great vocals. It's as good or better than the original. Then Ain't Talking About Love, classic arpeggiated guitar on this. When I was listening to the album earlier today, what's interesting is this on the verses when he hits the B and the high E string at the third fret, down the verse, and you hear the zing of the Brown sound of his guitar sound. It's amazing. I think what's interesting with, if you kind of listen into his sound, it's very brassy top end. It's got a lot of bass, it's got a lot of mid, it's got a lot of everything. It's like everything's just on 10. And if it was in someone else's hands, it might sound kind of abrasive or not nice, but when it's the way he attacks with the pick, it just projects, indigestion, it just projects in a certain way that's magical. In actual fact, when he's doing solos and really digging on the G string, you can hear the G string squeaking, and that's, that kind of clipped sort of thing you get with a Marshall, Plexi Marshall, is very apparent. That's 3 minutes 50, 3 minutes 47, I'm the One. This is the first Van Halen boogie, that sort of feel. For a lot of people, maybe Halen's best solo, certainly the best solo on his album. Does his classic kind of open blues lick on a open B string, and playing the 10th fret on the G. Fantastic. Like this is where you can really hear all the greatness of the guitar going in one pass with the harmonics and everything, and the bounce he gets. To get that feel is amazing. So that was the end of side one of the album. Like I say, very short and spot. There's not one track. There's 2 tracks under 3 minutes on this album. All the rest are over 3 minutes. There's not one track over 4 minutes. It doesn't need to be. That's the other thing about this album. Kiss aside, up until this point, metal, hard rock's kind of progressive. at times, and even kind of more bluesy rock has longer tracks. But Halen took a leaf, really, I suppose, like I say, Kiss, doing that short, direct song and not outstaying its welcome. Side 2's really influential track, Jamie's Crying. This was sampled by rap bands. Great rhythm work on this. Lovely lyric, actually, quite, quite a kind of soft, gentle lyric, really. From what a girl's feeling when she's been blown out by a lad, and it's cool. It's got a real bubblegum quality to it, this, that I like, and it's kind of oozes Americana. Atomic Punk, it's an amazing intro on this. He does the thing with the phaser and he scratches with the palm of the hand, makes a percussive sound. There's the use of phaser throughout this, and then his echoplex, his tape echo. It's really cool. All the band's firing on this. David Lee Roth never puts a foot wrong. I think the choice of running with all the opening sets, there's tone with his vocals. I think, when bands, people make their minds up very early about whether they like a singer or not. So if you don't get that first kind of thing right, people can go, I don't like that singer, even though they improve massively later on. Feel of Tonight's another one of my faves. 343, again, it's got that kind of bubblegum sort of, I'm driving in we're getting fun in the back of my car. Great. And I love when the solo finishes on this, actually the on the solo, that's where if you listen you can hear that G string kind of almost popping off the pickup with the amount of dig he's got in it. And then he plays the riff on its own with the singing over top. It sounds great on that. I mean, that rhythm guitar sound, you can just plug into it now and make an album with it. However good plugins are or whatever, or technology's moved on, you just play that sound and it'll be awesome. Then you got Little Dreamer. Like I said, I think this is the weakest track, but it's nice. It's kind of close to a ballad. The album's got quite slinky groove. Nice sort of typical sort of Dorian run. Eddie does a little bit jazz inflection, a little bit of his Holdsworth influence, whether he'd heard him at that point. There you got Ice Cream Man, the other cover. I think listening to this before, there's great, just how great his finger style is on the boom on the acoustic. It's a really lovely, really warm sound. David Roth's hilarious. Only David Roth could pull off his intro when he's doing them, usually passing by about 11 o'clock and have a stop. And if you let me call me one time, you'll be my regular stop. It's just absolutely brilliant performance from Roth. The guitar solo is mega on this. It may be better than the I'm the One solo. Does that great stretchy lick. I think it's 12, 16 and 19. Then he just moves it symmetrically down. Very, very hard to execute. And then Fisher's on Fire, which is a perfect ending track. It's just got loads of energy. I love the kind of out of tune, high on fire kind of thing. It actually, when they're doing the fire, sorry, that it works really well. It shouldn't, but it does. We know they can sing, great harmony. You could go on about this album all day. I mean, I'm choosing doing it 45 today. I don't know how long I carry on with these, but when it's 50, when it's 60, I just hope the young people don't forget it. Really, youngsters. Obviously, guitar's changed, and Van Halen are kind of associated with being influenced on hair metal and the kind of 80s thing and the hedonism in rock that got stopped at the early part of the 90s and so on. But the songwriting and playing on this is great. Like I say, Van Halen did great tracks after this. They did great albums, but none was as consistent as this. Maybe apart from 1984 was a very consistent sort of record. We've heard these tracks a lot, but it'll never. Time will never dull this. It's an all-time album for any time, really. So Van Halen 45 years old today. Hope you enjoyed that, and I'll see you soon.